Hello, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast. My name is Josh Schonafinger, joined in studio today with Kane Richardson. We've brought in the Australian bowler, South Australian fast bowler, Queensland, you name it, Melbourne Renegades, and we're going to be bringing you a weekly show every Thursday to dissect the cricket news in a bit more detail and a bit more relaxed setting. So, Richo, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's familiar surrounds in terms of the podcast, but definitely not with all that's going on in the background. So it's very nice. It's a nice place to be. So thanks for having me.
Well, you're no stranger to the Unplayable Podcast, are you? You've been on it years and years ago.
Yeah, I go way back. You don't have to present me with my cap this morning, that's for sure. So yeah, it's pre-COVID, and then I think during COVID we had a bit of time in my hands. So the ex-host, who I enjoyed working with, we had a weekly show for a while there before it disappeared into the ether and was never spoken about again until this day.
Well, you can, for those listeners who are interested, you can find all of those episodes still in the feed on the Unplayable Podcast. So you can go back. And I had a look actually myself. Some of the episode names were a bit curious. There was one from 17th of March 2020 called Kane Richardson and the Coronavirus. It sounds like a children's book, doesn't it? Like James and the Giant Peach sort of thing. Do you remember that episode?
I remember the time. I'm not sure I remember that episode specifically, but yeah, the world's a very different place now, and that story probably won't ever get made into a book or won't get airtime, probably for the best. So yeah, some good memories and some not so good memories. I
do have a clip I want to play from you from an episode called Richardson Names Batting Bunny from 15th of October 2018. Why don't we have a listen to it, and then you can give us your thoughts on that one.
And I know you want to take lots of wickets and stay healthy and, do all that stuff that fast bowlers should do. But is there an opposition batter that you're looking forward to testing your skills against? Someone you always relish coming up against?
Well, there's a few bunnies, but I probably won't name them.
No, you can name them.
Because Marcus Stoinis, I could probably fart him out and he'd probably edge him. But
I'd normally fart them out and he would edge them. Is that a common phrase in the cricket vocabulary?
Yeah, it is. That's change room chat. Look, that's a long time ago. I'm a lot more mature now. I probably wouldn't choose those words, but I think I was walking around a supermarket in Adelaide at the time and I was probably not thinking straight. No, I think since I made that comment, I don't think I've got the better of Stoin again. So just goes to show you best keeping those things insular and not really letting them out.
Do you want to name an updated batting bunny since that day? 7 years ago?
I haven't been playing a heap, have I? So I have to go back in the archives. But no, I'm not gonna say anything because I hope there's a few more better days ahead, and I don't want to stitch myself up like I did then.
Well, let's talk about your playing then, because I'm sure the listeners are probably interested. What's going on with you? Like, what's the latest in terms of your playing at the minute?
Well, I haven't played since Big Bash finished, and partly there's opportunities to go play and things like that, but I've made a decision in the last couple of years since having a few children that going to prioritise being at home as much as I can, especially while they're not at school. So, yeah, I haven't played since Big Bash, slowly getting back into the swing of things now. Got some cricket up in Darwin next month with the NT, which is, for me, I'm excited about. I actually started my cricketing journey up there and playing for them in junior cricket, so bit of a full circle moment to go back up there and play against some Big Bash kind of academy teams and then back here and play some club cricket on the Gold Coast and kind of see what happens. I'm keen to play again in Big Bash, but I'm also open-minded that if that opportunity doesn't come, I'll more than happily find other things to do.
Yeah, and so that Darwin League, that's the strike league, is that what they call it, or the Darwin 360 or something like that?
I'm not sure the name, but they both sound familiar. But it's basically every Big Bash team sends up a squad of kind of, experience, but also kids that are maybe pushing to get a contract. Apart from the two Sydney teams, I don't think they send anyone up and Brisbane. So yeah, it's a good competition. I played in it last year. Pakistan A playing it, Bangladesh. So it's competitive and one thing when you get teams coming from Pakistan and Bangladesh, they're competitive. They're up for it. Like they're treating these games in August like they mean something. So it's really good for especially the younger guys to see that. But yes, facilities are great. The weather's great. It's a really good opportunity in that time of year to get some cricket in.
And you're representing the Northern Territory, not the Renegades Academy, is that right?
No, so last year I was there with the Renegades Academy. But yeah, my time with the Renegades is done. So yeah, I'll be there with the NT. I assume the Renegades will be there again, so it'll be good to see some old faces. But yeah, I'll be back in the ochre and black, which I'm excited about.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, let's get into this week's weekly winner. This is where we want to look at great performances and people who need to be recognised for their efforts during the week. Richo, why don't we start with your weekly winner? Who took your eye?
Well, obviously, the Australian team in the West Indies, their win's fantastic. You could name anyone in that did well in that test as being the weekly winner, but I've gone a little bit different. I've gone over to England in the first class system, and I've picked out Surrey, and I'm picking them out because they've made 9 for 820 declared off 160 overs, so they've gone to the good clip. Oh. But I'm picking out my man Frankie Worrell because he did not bat. He's my weekly winner because he sat there at the Oval and watched Surrey, who they're star-studded. They're, basically their test team. Yeah, they went at 5.5 and over for 160 overs, and Frankie would have just sat there playing the guitar, chewing gum, drinking coffee, drinking other things. So, yeah, I mean, it's not often you see an 800 in first-class cricket anymore, no. So I'll tip my cap to them and give them my weekly winner.
Does he bring out the guitar in the change room, Frankie?
He used to. I used to when we used to go away, but I'm not sure. He's a very different. He's got an English accent now, so he's a very different version of Frankie Worrell.
He qualifies for England, doesn't he?
I think he has, yeah. But there's been some audio going around of him talking, and you would not recognise him from the South Australian version of Frankie Worrell. So who knows what he might be knitting now, or I don't know.
Wow. Okay. And they're using the Kookaburra balls at the minute in the last couple of rounds of the county championship. Do you think that sort of contributed to these higher scores?
Well, this time of year they tend to flatten out those pitches, especially when the weather gets a bit warmer and it's mid-season. So that with a Kookaburra, not overly conducive to results as we see in domestic cricket here, unless the pitches are that way inclined. So yeah, I think when you look at the scores around the Div 1 and Div 2, there's some massive scores. So the batsmen are enjoying it. It's probably a worthwhile exercise, but I'm sure the bowlers are not happy at the moment.
We might get to some of those bowlers in a little bit. My weekly winner was from the test match between Zimbabwe and South Africa. They had a few debutants, South Africa, after winning the World Test Championship final, and one of them was 19-year-old Luandre Pretorius.
Great name.
Luandre Pretorius, that's it, yes. Now, he went on to make 153, but he's my weekly winner because on 30... he absolutely smashed the ball off the inside edge to the wicketkeeper, but it wasn't given. And in Zimbabwe, unfortunately, there's no DRS referrals. They just don't have the technology. So umpire gave him not out, and he went on to score another 123. It's a pretty good way to start your test career.
It's an amazing way. He definitely owes the umpire he's of age, so he owes him a beer over there. There's a nice country club next to the ground there, so he probably went after play and had a beverage. But pretty unfortunate for Zimbabwe. And the question remains, if you're playing test cricket, you probably should have the technology there. So I feel for the Zimbabwe bowlers there, because that's, again, we're talking about high scores and toil. They've conceded some heavy scores in that test, so definitely unfortunate. But good on him. You got to make the most of your opportunities. And
you certainly do.
He wasn't shy to give a little bit back to the Zimbabwe guys as well, who probably questioned why he didn't walk. So that's opening up another debate as well, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I know it's early in our relationship to get into this, but are you a walker?
I was never in a position to choose, because most of the time I was LBW or bowled. So the decision's kind of taken out of your hands, or hitting one up in the air from a bouncer. So, but morally, I would like to say, yeah, I'm a walker. What about you?
Definitely not. Okay. Definitely not. No. You need all the... I mean, you get given some howlers, don't you? So if you get a slice of luck, you got to...
Yeah, that's fair.
Run with it.
Yeah, it tends to even out, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Let's talk about first test in Barbados, as you touched on. West Indies, Australia. Australia ended up winning by 159 runs. It was very, very even on the first innings, but then a couple of really solid contributions from Travis Head, Bo Webster and Alex Carey got Australia up to 310 in their second innings before Josh Hazlewood ran through West Indies in the second innings. In fact, in the session, they were bowled out in a session. Did you watch the final session of that day?
I didn't. I was checking on my phone and thought, it's going to be an interesting game. But then, like you said, it was like, pull it out half an hour later and it's done. It was like, is my phone playing up here? Or? But yeah, I think when you look at the conditions, that pitch, if you give that bowling attack a lead as Travis, Bo and Alex did, and I think Steve Smith said during the week that they were pretty confident on the way that surface was kind of changing throughout the days, they were pretty confident to get that done. But it was some great watching. Like, if West Indies were really up for it, their bowling attack, there's some serious talent there. So forecasting ahead to the next two tests is going to be interesting to see if the surfaces do stay that way. I'm not sure it's going to be an ideal situation for the West Indies because that bowling attack of Australia is just, you give them a sniff, they're going to take it. So, but yeah, it's probably all on the both batting groups to make enough runs.
Well, not easy going for the batting group. I mean, this pitch was doing plenty from day one, and of course, by the time we got to day 3, it was doing plenty. Josh Hazlewood obviously capitalised on that. 2 for 41 in the first innings and 5 for 43 in the second, including a 3-over spell of 4 for 5 or something ludicrous. Why is he such a good bowler? You've played with him a lot in the past. What makes him tick and what makes him just so effective?
Well, he's the Hazel God, isn't it? I think they'll call him that in the IPL. I think he's incredible because he's never really, like, what he is now is almost what he was when he was 18, when we were coming up through the junior pathways together. His strength has always been so good and has been good enough to carry him all the way, the next 20 years. And he's never really had to evolve too much out of that. And I think opposition teams have always known that he's so good at this. And, well, you still got to be good enough to combat that. So he's an amazing person. Like, he's never had social media. He's just not your average sportsman. You wouldn't know what he's doing if he's not out in the field. But I just think he's owned his skill and his strength for his whole career. I don't think anyone can remember the last time he bowled a bad ball or bowled a cut shot. It's just relenting pressure. He's upskilled in white ball cricket, the IPL numbers, the numbers for Australia. He's almost the most important white ball bowler. And again, that's come off the back of just what he's good at, and that's just running in, hitting consistent line and length. Pace never drops, good bouncer. He's out of the slow ball and he hits a Yorker, but he's really lent on that strength. So he's a marvel. The only question has been his injury, and like anyone who gets over 30, that's everyone's question. But he's, again, just comes back and shows how valuable he is. So I don't think there's a time you could put on him to be finished. And for all those bowlers, they just keep getting better.
Do you think it's been a good thing or a bad thing for him that he's never really been Australia's number one bowler? I mean, when he came into the side, it was Mitchell Johnson and Ryan Harris doing their thing. Since then, it's been Stark and Cummins who have sort of taken the limelight. Has it almost worked in his favour that he's just been in the background a little bit, even though his numbers in any other team, he'd be their number one?
Well, it probably suits his personality, to be honest, because I don't think he minds at all. But yeah, you're right. I've never really thought about that kind of overlapping of careers and the great fast bowlers and how he's kind of withstood, both eras of the Mitchell Johnsons and Ryan Harris into what there is now today. But I think the thing that stands out is just he's so versatile. He can open the bowling, can bowl first change, T20, he can bowl 2 at the start, 2 at the end. Is any role you feel confident when he's got the ball? I don't know. It's just for someone who's never had to change too much of what they're good at. That's incredible because you think most of the time people are going to figure you out at some point, and he's just literally just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And as you said, that spell of 4 for 5 off 3 overs.
Yeah.
Like that's Josh Hazlewood. Like not always the 4-fer, but he just never goes for runs, never relents on pressure. That bowling group's amazing, and to keep Scott Boland out of the team with the numbers he's been producing as well just shows how well they're going. Yeah.
You've been in a few teams with Josh in the white ball side of things. How does it work when you guys are, I guess, assessing situations? Does he share information when he's bowling? Like, how does he sort of see the game, and does he share that information with you?
Yeah, he's definitely evolved in that space, and I think as you get older, you naturally do think that way. But he's shown, I think, did he captain Australia?
Yeah, in a one-day international.
And that, I mean, he probably wouldn't have thought 5-10 years ago that was an opportunity that would have presented. So I think he's not vocal in terms of, he's not your typical leader, captain who's going to overload with information. But I think the way he kind of just shares anything, it's short to the point, and it's almost like, here, just give me the ball, I'll do this, watch what I do, follow.
Right.
He's just a leader in terms of how he goes about it. You always feel confident when he's there next to you just because he's that calm, never gets overawed by the situation. It's that country aspect of him, I reckon. Like, it's not that big a deal for him. He's just proved again and again how valuable he is for Australia, and I think anyone involved in the Australian team owes that bowling group a lot of thanks, because they do paper over so much the work that, you know, and the good stuff and the trophies they've won. Those guys have been, you know, at the forefront of all of it.
Yeah, their longevity, and I mean, Hazlewood has had to deal with some injuries, but the longevity of these guys is pretty remarkable as well. They're now into their mid-30s, and they're still going as strong as they've ever been.
And it's just like, you can't ever. I don't think you know when they're going to finish.
Yeah.
Like you look back to the great fast bowlers, you could see it, but it's like Mitchell Starc he's as durable and he's performing as well as he ever has, and it's like he's a marvel. He's never been injured. He's always available. He's playing IPL and stuff now, but he's still available. Like, at that age, it's incredible. The performance, he's still bowling as fast as he ever has. Yeah, I think people will genuinely appreciate these guys when they're gone, because they're 3 generational fast bowlers, and then you throw in Nathan Lyon, obviously. To have that all in one go is pretty lucky.
Yeah, Mitch Starc, he's only 9 wickets away from 400, I think, test wickets. So huge achievement for him. One guy who's had to bide his time and wait in the Sheffield Shield has been Beau Webster, but now he's come into the side and he's just looked up the part, hasn't he? He's just come in with bat and ball, he's doing things, and he got a very important 60 in the second innings. What can you tell us about Beau Webster?
Well, he, like you said, he was biding his time, but you could argue he was ready 12 months ago, even 18 months ago, when he was having that Shield season that I think Garfield Sobers rivaled. So anyone who's
earned
putting
him
up,
a nickname, didn't it?
It did, yeah, and he I think he enjoyed it. He got an earring on the back of that and changed persona a little bit. But yeah, you could argue he was ready 18 months ago. But then, yeah, it's almost worked out perfectly, the timing, that he's still stayed in form through the Shield season last year. Even his bowling has shown to be so valuable. So I think the confidence Australia would get out of Head, Webster and Carey, that 5, 6, 7, to dig him out of situations. Cause like the way Beau played in the second innings on a wicket, that's, you know, not traditionally something he would have come up playing domestic cricket. It just shows how much he's growing. And then you throw in, he got a couple of wickets as well. He's the most safest pair of hands going around in the world. Like, I think that whole package, great fella, one of the best blokes going around as well. That whole package, just to have him in that number 6 is so valuable to have in team balance. And I know Andrew McDonald's really big on that. Can bowl off spin, really ticks all the boxes. So I'm really happy for him, because he's as you said, biding his time, finally gets his opportunity, and then shows straight away just that he was ready and he belongs at test level. So yeah, it's an amazing resource to have for Australia going forward.
The Australian middle order is firing at the minute. The top order, not so much. Steve Smith is back in the nets after his dislocated finger. Let's get your thoughts on that top order. What can they do? What should they do? Well,
I think you got to stick with them for this series. And interestingly, there's no test matches after this until the Ashes, is there? So, as you say, Steve Smith's been in the nets. He's been in the cage, I think, in New York. So that's typical of him. He wouldn't miss an opportunity to lay bat on ball. But, well, obviously someone's got to come out for him, don't they? And I don't know who that's going to be, because you give guys an opportunity in a different position for one test. You'd really like them to have another opportunity there, but you're not going to not get Steve Smith back in. So I don't know. What do you think? Who's going to make way? What's the best way to change the order? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the thing is, one test match is too small a sample size, isn't it? And then when you look at the pitch that they had to play on, well, you have to take the results with a bit of a grain of salt. And Shamar Joseph was absolutely steaming in. I mean, what a match he had. Let's just not paper over that. But, I mean, if Smith comes in, I like the idea of maybe putting him to 3. I know that he's been reluctant to probably bat there in the past, but he's the most experienced guy there now. He's done it before in his career. And maybe let's just put Cameron Green back to 4, or keep Josh Inglis at 4, and then maybe that adds a bit more stability to that top order in case Constas or Khawaja go out early. But I think let's keep those openers there for this series at least, and Steve Smith to 3 to add a bit of stability. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't mind it, but I don't think that will happen. I think if Steve's coming back in after the change he made last time they played the West Indies in Australia a couple of years ago when he opened, I think coming out of that, he was pretty certain that he wanted to bat 4 for the rest of his time. So maybe he will. I think if we're thinking he comes back in and goes 4, then you think Inglis comes out. But then again, like you said, it's one game on a iffy wicket. But I think Josh is going to play a lot more Test
Yeah.
cricket for Australia as well. So it's not exactly the here and now that matters too much. But it is nice to see guys get an opportunity after this World Test Championship final to start to generate for the next cycle. And yeah, it's an interesting point, and I guess we have no idea sitting here in this room, but it's going to be either green or English, you think, comes out.
It does put a lot of pressure on the Sheffield Shield opening rounds, doesn't it? Especially if the pitches stay like this in these Caribbean tests. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on the first few rounds of the Shield to make sure that those guys are scoring runs.
Well, yeah, and even this A series that's approaching as well. I just
Yeah.
think anyone that's in any type of form with the bat that can open the batting is going to be around the mark. And I think ideally Sam Constas is their first ball of the Ashes, and I think that's what the Australian Brains Trust wants as well. And obviously they do. They've picked him for this, but I think everyone's a chance. And that's exciting for not only the selectors because they've got a wide range of players that can throw the hand up, but also for the players. There's opportunities to play in an Ashes. How good would that be?
Definitely.
So, yeah, it's all to be decided.
One of the other big stories coming out of Barbados was the Nathan Lyon handing over the team song to Alex Carey. Nathan Lyon's done it for a best part of a decade, I think. So this is a big moment, and it's a big part of the team culture. Is there a white ball equivalent of the team song?
There wasn't when I was around, but I think it's changed in the last. I think since Mitch Marsh has taken more of a captaincy role, I think he's decided that the white ball should have their own identity. And I know Adam Zampa's made a song. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I haven't been around since this has happened, but yeah, I remember hearing it, and it's catchy. You'd have to get him to.
We might have to get him on to give us a.
Well, it's one of those things, right? Like people want to know about this
Definitely.
stuff. And the same with the Nathan Lyon. I think Mike Hussey passed it to him. It's probably one of these things everyone knows about, but no one really knows truly what's going on. Like change rooms are,
private situations.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone has an understanding of it. And it's an interesting part of the Australian team.
It is,
this tradition. So he's passed it over to Alex Carey, which is a good choice, I think, by the way. Yeah, safe hands. And one thing about Alex that the public wouldn't know, he's a great celebrator, and when he really lets his hair down, he changes completely. He's a completely different person. Much more outgoing, more relaxed, does things that Alex Carey wouldn't do. He has an alias as well.
Does he?
Yeah,
he
turns into Alan Carey. And Alan is very different to Alex. I won't go into anything more. But it's a good part of the Australian change room. The white ball have tried to emulate it as best they can, but they've got a bit of catching up to do.
So do we know is it a similar tune, the white ball song, Sprig of Wattle, any of that? Do we know, or you can't share that?
No, there's no Sprigs of Wattles.
Okay.
There's no Southern Cross being mentioned. It's a very modern take on a team song.
Okay, great. That's one to look forward to.
Well, what do you think of teams? Because I watch other sport. You watch football.
Yeah.
Do you like team songs?
Are they a bit unique to Australian sport?
They are, aren't they? Because you don't really. Well, county cricket they do it.
Do they?
Yeah, they get their bats involved and stuff. But it's something I've never really enjoyed. I've always thought it. I've really found it weird.
Are you self-conscious about your singing?
Well, no, you can't even hear yourself. But it's more like you finish a game and the first thing you do is jump in a huddle and huddle up and scream. Like it's a funny thing. I don't know. It's just something I've always found, even in club cricket. Like guys get so into it, and don't get me wrong, love the passion and but I've just always found it a strange thing. It's a very Australian thing.
Okay, well, on the run sheet here, I've got Unplayable Podcast team song at the end of the episode. So
maybe get rid of that. Scribble that out.
Let's go on to the other side of the world now. Ben Manenti is going to be representing Italy at the European T20 World Cup qualifiers. I had a chat to him earlier in the week about what that involves, and we also touched on that miraculous Sheffield Shield final victory. So why don't we get into that chat with Ben now and catch up with him on his Italian adventure. We are joined today on the Unplayable Podcast by South Australia all-rounder Ben Manenti, who joins us all the way from the UK. Ben, welcome to the show, mate. What are you doing over there in the UK at the minute?
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Over in the UK, playing for Italy at the moment. We've got a couple of practice games against the Braves franchise next few days, and spent a week in Rome in the Olympic Village training and preparing, and then we head down to Rotterdam and play our World Cup qualifiers.
Fantastic. So, yeah, what's it like inside the Olympic Village? How do you get into there?
Yeah, it was my first time. The boys have been before. It's fairly old. I think it was built about 70 years ago. So yeah, it's quite old, but it was really cool to see like all the different sports rolling around there. Roma Football Club used that for all their academies to train at and stuff. So they were all out on the back ovals training on the Astros there, and
Oh, wow.
Italy Rugby has spent some time there before they have just gone on their tour. So it's sort of a little hub before people go out on tours to represent Italy. So yeah, it was different, but it was cool.
Nice. And so you've played for Italy before, haven't you? What's the connection there family-wise? How do you qualify for them?
Yeah, through dad's side, dad uh, got his passport from my grandparents, and then he went over and played rugby in Italy for 2 or 3 years when he was sort of early 20s and kept his passport and citizenship, which meant me and my brother could keep ours.
Nice. Did you get the rugby gene as well, or did that miss you?
No, I think I did, but whether other people do or not, it's a different story. Yeah, I played all the way up until I finished school, and then cricket sort of took over from there.
What's your brother Harry? What's his specialty at cricket? Is he a batter or is he a bowler?
Batter that bowls a bit.
Yeah, okay. And there's a few other Aussie connections in this Italy squad I've seen. Joe Burns is captaining. Who else is floating around that's sort of got the Aussie connection?
Yeah, there's a few. Grant Stewart, who plays county cricket over in the UK, but he's a Newcastle boy. Um, and then the Mosca brothers that both play grey cricket in Sydney as well. So yeah, there's a few of us, and Peter Divenuto, um, Michael's brother, is sort of assistant coach as well, and John Davidson is head coach. So there's a few Aussies over here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And what is the process for qualification for the T20 World Cup? Like, how do you make it?
It's top two. Top two go through. So we play Scotland, Netherlands, Jersey, and Guernsey, and top two go through to the World Cup in Feb.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, it's within touching distance.
Yeah, it's not far at all. So we definitely think we can get there. So big couple weeks.
What would be I mean, let's talk hypothetically here, but if you guys qualify, potentially you could be representing Italy against Australia at the next T20 World Cup. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I haven't sort of thought too far ahead about that stuff yet, but um, a World Cup in India is probably the biggest sporting event in the world, um, with billions of eyes probably on it. So yeah, I mean, something like that would be wild. We've got a little bit to go before we get there, but it would be pretty amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, I reckon if you could string a nice performance together there to do your IPL contract chances a bit of a boost.
Yeah, definitely.
um, what have you been doing cricket-wise since the Sheffield Shield final? We will get to that, but I just want to hear what you've been up to since then. Bit of time off or a bit of cricket?
No, I shut it down for a bit. We sort of we all the boys, we went up to Byron for a couple of days and had a few beers and a few days off up there, and then guys went their separate ways. Went home, bit of time off, and then we sort of all got stuck in 5 6 weeks ago. Started filtering back through, and then boys started pre-season back up Monday last week. So everyone's back in there, back home now. But for me, it's sort of been getting getting any niggles right and starting to prepare again to try and go back to back.
Yeah. And how is your Italian? Did you get that from your old man as well?
Nah, I've struggled this week. I've struggled this week in Rome. I've I've definitely worked out that I'm no good once the language barrier is in there. So I've had to rely on a few people to translate a few things for me this week, but I've it's probably something I've got to continue to work on, definitely.
From experience, though, you don't need too much Italian to order the food over there, do you? So you should be right on that front.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's talk about the season that was, because obviously for South Australia, it was just unbelievable. I guess my first question for you is, when you're doing the preparation at the start of the season, was the double really even discussed. Did you guys think that was possible?
I think you mentioned it. I think every state had mentioned it. But until it's sort of within touching distance, you don't really think too much about it. You sort of state cricket's it's full on, it's hectic. You don't get much of a break between games, so you sort of got to enjoy your win or learn from your loss and move straight on to the next one. And we sort of got better at that over the last 3 years, where we were learning when we lost, and when we won, we were enjoying that and growing from that too. So we sort of spoke about it at the start of last year, wanting to be there and competing for trophies at the end, but I don't think anyone thought that we were going to definitely walk away with 2 trophies. We probably thought we were going to compete for one, hopefully 2, but to win both was awesome.
Take me back to those 4 days in Adelaide. Unbelievable scenes, like the city turned out in serious numbers. And you were there at the end of the match as well, at the non-strikers when Sanger hit the winning runs.
That's it. Yes! After 29 years, South Australia have got the Shield back in their hands.
Can you just take us back to that moment? Because the aftermath of that was pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, it was. It was like I've spoken to a few people about it over here as well. Like, it's hard to describe. Like, after day one, I was packed up. I was like, we're home and hosed here. Like, we've just bowled them out. We're doing all right. Like, we'll win this by day 3. And then Mother Cricket swung around and bit us in the arse, and Queensland were always going to kick back. And they did. And sort of heading into the night of day 3, I was probably on the other side. I was like, oh no, we're a couple of wickets away here and we're in strife. But sort of the way it had been all year, we just, whenever it looked like there was a period that in the past we'd probably lost and cost us a game or a session, this year we just found ways to win when we're in difficult positions. We won that hour, won that ball, won that session, and that partnership between Kez and Sanger on day 4 was amazing. And I remember sitting there with Buddha, Nathan McSweeney, and Henry Hunt, and we were sort of watching. We needed about 70 runs to get, and we were still nervous at that stage, but you could just start to see the hill fill up, and the ball would go to the fence, and they'd be banging on the fence as the Queensland boys would go and get the ball. And it just sort of got on a roll, and it almost happened in fast forward. And then we lost a couple of wickets, and like, before I went in, I remember looking around the ground and seeing like 3 or 4 deep on the fence, people like queuing up, and I was like, they're going to run on here if we win. And they were like, no, they're not. So anyway, I get out there and beans were going, and thankfully Sang was still calm, and he hit the winning runs, and it was incredible. Like, I remember throwing my bat up in the air and giving him a hug, celebrating, and then I turned around. He actually got a full body cramp, so I had to stretch his hands out. And then he turned around and walked off, and I've turned to grab my bat, and as I've turned to grab my bat, there's just a sea of people coming at me, and I'm like, oh my God. I just put my head down and tried to walk to where I was thinking where the gate was, and there was people slapping me on the head, pouring beer over me, like grabbing my shirt. I was like, I just have to find the fence. There was no security guards everywhere. I don't know what had happened, but like, yeah, it was a crazy 15 minutes. I had to actually get a new helmet the other week because my one still smells of super dry from people pouring it all over me, and I don't know where my gloves are. I remember seeing a kid at the parade we did on that Monday morning with one of my gloves. I'm not sure how he got it, but it was it was a whirlwind few hours leading up to it.
Unbelievable. Did you get your bat back, or was that swallowed up by the crowd too?
No, I got that back. I've used that every Shield game I've played so far.
Really?
So yeah, which is quite odd because I'm not superstitious or anything like that at all. But I've just used that every game because it's a good bat, and I made sure I had to go back and grab that because I was like, oh, I can't lose that. But yeah, that's cost me. That's cost me probably a helmet and gloves and all sorts of stuff. As on the flip side,
Yeah, there's a couple of great photos. I'm not sure if you've seen them or not, but at the end of the game, where literally the crowd are jumping on top of you, and you're just
yeah,
trying to get off the
yeah.
ground. Incredible scenes. I guess just going back to that, when you guys were three for, did you sort of think, yeah, we've sort of lost this? Like South Australia had been in lots of good positions in the past and not been able to capitalise. Did it sort of feel like that was happening again?
Oh, it didn't. It didn't. Like I'm very pessimistic. Um, so that morning, I sat for the whole first session, like in another room watching it on the telly. But the problem was it was like 5 seconds delayed the stream from that thing. So
Oh no.
I'd hear a wicket and then I'd be like, oh no. But we like it's something that we built up over the last, as I said a bit earlier, like we shouldn't have won games through the year that we did win.
Yeah.
And it sort of just became a belief that we could win from any position. That was something that sort of Rhino was big on, is believing we can win from any position. And although it probably looked wobbly for a while there, no one was panicking. Like everyone was calm in the sheds, and Kez and Sang just went about their business, and we sort of watched it all unfold in front of us. And sort of once we got within 100, we probably knew that we should be right. And then 70, then 50, and then once it got under 10, I probably thought we were okay. But a few others were probably a bit more comfortable around 50 or 60. But yeah, I think you're right. Like in the past, certainly from when I first got down to South Australia to then, like if we were in that situation, it definitely would have been something that we struggled to nail.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that shows the development of our group over 12 months, 18 months, into what's evolved to be two trophies, which is yeah a lot of what Rhino's done and Stubbo and Crookie and a lot of Dizzy as well before that. So and probably majority of it on our playing group of taking ownership of our own performances and accountability too.
I know a lot of players say that they're more nervous when they're on the sidelines rather than when they're in the middle. Is that the same for you? Were you almost happy to get out into the middle?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would have preferred to be out there with 150 to get. I might not have got us home, but I would have preferred to be out there than watching it for sure. I'd much rather be out there in the battle than sitting on the sideline annoying people.
There's one other game I want to ask you about before we get to your top three moments of the summer. That incredible win down in Tassie. Riley Meredith comes back inexplicably for a second. I think you got the ball and
Yeah.
got it into Nielsen, didn't you? So tell us about that match because that was a frenetic finish.
Yeah, we've taken one of my top three moments there.
Okay.
That was one of them. Yeah, it was a crazy game as well. Like day three, we were umming and ahhing about whether to declare or not, and it was sort of I was captaining then. It was sort of my first real proper
All right.
decision I had to make as captain. Like the games before, it had been dictated to us, and I decided to declare, and Rhino backed me, but was happy to bat a little bit more. And we only got one wicket that night, but we went for about 30 or 40, and I was like, maybe I've jumped the gun here. I should have played a little safer, and worst case, we get a draw. Um, and Bellerive historically gets flatter and flatter as the week goes on. And they batted well in the morning, well in the middle, and they still needed a bit of work to do after. And then um, Tim Ward batted really well, and Mitch Owen came out and sort of does what he's done over the past 12 months, and got 60 quick. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but I know we needed 4 wickets and they needed about 12 runs off 9 balls. And I was like, oh no, I've butchered this. Um, and then Mitch hit one down to me at long on, needing 12. And then we got a wicket first ball, next ball. And then there was a couple of runs and came down to a couple balls. We got another wicket. And then that last ball, I was like, oh, as long as it doesn't go to the fence, we got out unscathed. And then I picked it up and threw it into Wes, who bowled that over beautifully. And I remember seeing Riley was halfway down. I was like, "Oh, we've won." Um, but like, I think that's sort of like summed up our season really well. Like looking back on it, we shouldn't have won that game. They should have definitely won it. We probably shouldn't have won against WA, our first one-day game of the year. We probably shouldn't have hung on for a draw against WA in the pink ball game, but we did. And those little things stack up, and then you start to believe you can win from anywhere or hang on from anywhere. And the belief around the group at the moment, like when I left and all through last year, was really good. It's an exciting place to be at the moment.
Yeah, well, maybe just a word as well about Ryan Harris. Obviously, Jason Gillespie said a lot of the groundwork, but everybody seems to love Ryan Harris, and he's come in and had a big impact in his first season. What's he like as a coach?
Yeah, he's awesome. He's so passionate. Me and Rhino are quite similar, I think, in the way we go about things and the way we do things. So we've had some good conversations and honest conversations about different things throughout the year. But we both know that it's for the betterment of South Australia and our team. But he's just instilled belief in everyone's ability, trust in our games, and the just the simple message of working really hard. And if we're working really hard and nailing our processes, we'll get what we deserve. And obviously, not every year is going to be the double. It might never happen again. Hopefully, it does. But I think that's sort of the challenge now, is that South Australia has always been the team that was hunting to do that, and now we probably don't want to be considered the hunted, because we want to still be hunting for more trophies. But in a world, we are the team that everyone's going to hunt. So that's sort of a different set of challenges again, which I know he sort of started to speak to the boys about and had spoke to me before I left as well. So no, he's been awesome. I can't praise him highly enough.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's going to be a whole new mindset for you guys this year. Now, what are the top 3 moments from your season? I mean, I guess the final's got to be up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the 2 of them are probably the one-day final and the Shield final. There's not too much that could beat those 2. The Shield final was, yeah, that's something I'll never forget. I mean, you dream of winning trophies as any sort of sportsman, to win a Shield final for South Australia after that period of time, like, and to see what it meant to the city and the cricket fans in South Australia, and like the amount of press and publicity it got on social media all around the world, was, yeah, that was amazing. And obviously the one day one too, like, yeah, we probably would have looked back on it had we lost that Shield final and maybe gone, oh, it's a bit of a, like, it was a good year. We won a trophy, but we missed the big one. But like, even that, we'd a lot of growth from our last one day final, which was 3 years ago, where WA wiped the floor with us over
Yeah,
there,
that's right.
and to come back and be so dominant in this one. And then probably the last one, not so much a specific game, probably actually just the whole squad mentality we had. I think we used 24 players this year throughout both comps, which I don't think happens too often. So I think that's a credit to all our boys and how they managed that, and guys getting picked and getting left out at different times, but never kicking the can or blowing up about not playing. Obviously disappointed as everyone is, but sucking it up and knowing that there was a bigger job at hand, and to win 2 trophies is an amazing achievement for the squad. Yeah, we obviously had a lot of games that I mentioned there that we won close and nail biters and hung on, which are obviously all sort of steps to get to that. But yeah, the squad mentality, and it's probably something that hopefully we can roll over again. Yeah, I can't think of too much more than that. Like the two trophies stand out more than anything else, really. But yeah, I think that's the key, and it'd be nice to be in a position in 8 months' time to be hopefully doing it again.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that speaks to your squad mentality thing, because I'm just looking at the scorecard of that one-day final now, and Ben Manenti isn't in the 11. So the fact that you were still able to enjoy it as much, I mean, I think that says a lot about the group, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does, and like that was tough. Like I hated that, but I also know that there was other guys in the same position. There was guys in the same position for the Shield final, and that's just part of it in professional sport. I was lucky enough to get on and field and take a catch and still be a part of it, but also the guys that had got us there are just as much a part of it too. Just because there was guys injured that couldn't play in the final, or someone that came in for one game to help us win in WA to get us there. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I first got down to South Australia, I don't think it would have gone the same way. Um, there was there was sort of everyone wanting to play every game, and we couldn't see the bigger picture. But now I think we all see the bigger picture and know that guys are going to rest, guys are going to get injured, guys are going to get left out for a wicket or for an extra batter or an extra bowler. And we know now that it's not an attack on them; it's for the betterment of the squad and the team. And it's easy to say that at the time when you're not winning things, but when you win things and you can actually see it in evidence, it makes a big difference. So yeah, I'm almost certain that'd be something that Rhino said this week down at the start of pre-season to start the block of training we've got.
Amazing. That's a great recap of the season, mate. Really appreciate it. Now, before I let you go, what's the plan for the Italy games? Are you opening the batting? Where are you going to slot into the order? What's your role?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think I'll be in the middle somewhere, 4 or 5 or 6,
Nice.
and bowl. But yeah, we've got a couple of games today and a couple of games tomorrow, and then we've got one more practice game against Scotland before the comp starts. So we'll try a few different things and play with some different stuff and see how we go. But it's exciting. It's a good couple of weeks. There's not too many cricketers that get to say they've had a week of training in Rome. So I've been very lucky with that.
What sort of pitches are we expecting in Holland? Like, do the Dutch roll out Bunsen burners or flatties, or what are we sort of
I'm
expecting?
not sure. We're trying to work that out. It's a hybrid pitch. So it's turf with like Astro holding it together
Oh,
underneath.
right.
So yeah, I haven't played on it. I might have to reach out to a few guys who've played some club cricket in The Hague in Netherlands and see what they say. But yeah, it'll associate cricket's it's a different experience to anything else, and it's a different challenge to anything else I've ever played. So we'll get there, and it could be a Bunsen burner or it could be a fast, bouncy whacker type thing. So we'll have to wait and see when we get there and see what the challenge that lies ahead is.
Mate, thanks for your time, and we'll be watching the scores very closely from the Euro qualifiers. Good luck with Italy over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
So there you go, Richo. Yeah, so Italy's fixtures are on July 5, 6, 9 and 11 if you want to keep in touch with the Manenti brothers and the Joe Burns show over there in The Hague. They've got to finish in the top 2 out of a group of Scotland, Netherlands, Jersey and Guernsey. And if they do, they're in the T20 World Cup. Can they do it?
Well, Scotland and the Netherlands at home, they're going to be tough. But they can, you look at, you got the Manenti brothers, you got Joe Burns, Grant Stewart, who people in Australia probably wouldn't know that much about, but I've seen him, played with him in county cricket. He's from Newcastle, I think, and he's as Australian as anyone. Clubs them, bowls really nice medium pace. So they'll be competitive, I'm sure. John Davison as coach.
Yep.
Quite a heavy Australian influence. So I think they'll be a good chance, but who knows what the conditions in that part of the world will entail.
We haven't seen Grant Stewart play in Australia, have we? At least the domestic first class sort of stuff. But do you think there's a chance in the future? And yeah, can you tell us a bit more about him as a player?
Well, I think he's from the Newcastle region, so I'm sure people in that part of the world would be familiar with him. But I think he's forged a career at Kent. Mother is Italian, I think, so through that he gets to play for Italy. But yeah, he kind of bats 7 or 8 in the county stuff in red ball and white ball. Handy medium pace, especially in the white ball game. Good changes of pace. So when I played at Kent with him, I was actually thinking, I was like, this guy would be a great pickup for Big Bash, because you can get him as a local.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I think he got 100 last week in Div 2 against Lancashire. I saw him clubbing Chris Green everywhere. And it's just, if you get in his arc, it goes. And yeah, he'd be handy for sure. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes in this series here, because yeah, he's someone to keep an eye on.
And it's been a big year for Ben as well, because as we touched on there, the Sheffield Shield final. How great were those scenes when the Karen Rolton Oval was just swamped with delighted fans after those winning runs? Maybe stolen glove or two in there as well, but that's great to see for domestic cricket, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome. I don't think you can get that in any other city than a town like Adelaide that loves their teams, but also a team that's coming off such a drought.
Yeah,
it was
big drought.
It was the perfect storm.
Do you think Adelaide shows up like better than any other city?
Well, I think it's just the perfect little, especially Karen Rolton. It's right near the city. They've been waiting, 29 years? It's just the perfect situation, the perfect storm. Yeah, I think it is. We played a Shield final down at I think it was at Glenelg in 2016 maybe. Didn't have the same atmosphere. So I think Karen Rolton really lends itself into that. And I know they wanted the Adelaide Oval, which obviously you would. But those scenes after they won, when they're on the balcony, and incredible. Like those guys, you remember that for the rest of your life. And I'm sure the people in the crowd would too, especially the people who stole some memorabilia. But amazing achievement for that squad. Ryan Harris, like his stocks as a coach, they're rising rapidly. To come in and have the impact he's had in that team in such a short space of time is, that speaks for itself. That's a tough job that he's coming in, and he's taken over from Jason Gillespie, who obviously did the groundwork and built that squad up. But they should be really fancying their chances for the next, little while with the bowling attack they've put together, and now they've got confidence, and the batting group has conquered demons in a Shield final. It's pretty impressive. So, yeah, it was an amazing game, amazing scenes.
Are you a fan of storming the ground? Is that?
Yeah, I was when Buddy kicked his 1,000. So it's not something you see that often in cricket, especially not now.
Yeah.
Security is usually all over it. So again, that's something that those players will never forget. It'll be spoken about forever to their grandkids, and at least there's footage of it so people will believe them. But yeah, it's incredible achievement for that state, and obviously being a past player and seeing how quickly they've developed, winning the one-day trophy, but then getting that Shield win, since back in those days, that's a massive tick. And I don't know if I was skeptical that it would ever happen, because of course it will happen at some point. But yeah, to do 2 in 1 year and be so dominant, yeah, great to see.
That was Kane pointing to his retro Redbacks jumper on the wall as well, just by the way. And I guess you touched on a bit of a dynasty perhaps being created. They don't have a lot of test players at the minute other than Travis Head and Alex Carey. So does that? I mean, this gives them a good opportunity to maybe win a couple in a row.
Well, it's obviously hard to do, and it's easy to sit here and say that. But you look at their bowling group, and like you say,
it's deep, isn't it?
Well, it is, and Doggett's probably the one that's the closest to the Test team. But as we said before, those guys aren't going anywhere soon. So I just can't see how that group, unless there's injuries, that they get disrupted. McAndrew's proven he's arguably on the cusp of national selection, and then you've got the guys below them, and that's probably the secret to winning. To winning and being successful in Shield cricket is having a really good group of fast bowlers that can carry you through a season, and you can rotate and do what you can with them. But yeah, I think there's enough there. And then you throw in McSweeney, Sanger, all the guys of Henry Hunt was close to national selection a while ago. There's enough there to keep him carrying through. And then I'm sure when Carey and Head either come off the back of Australian duties or get a break, they always love going back and playing for them.
Yeah, so they do.
I reckon it's a pretty good little list they're putting together.
Very strong, very strong. Let's finally touch on the county cricket, as we got to it at the start of the show, but there have been some big scores over there. Surrey 9 for 820, Worcestershire 7 for 679, Lancashire, Ashton Turner and Chris Green, they both got centuries in that match.
Is that 2 in a row for Ashton Turner? I think?
Yeah, it is. Yep. So he just
Bit
went
of
over
form.
as a T20 player, and he's making first-class runs.
The beauties of county cricket.
That's great, isn't it? I wanted to point out George Drissel. He was the off-spinner who had to face Surrey in that massive total. He finished with 1 for 247 of 45 overs. It's a tough day at the office for George.
Day. We've all been there, George. Every one of us, especially spinners. That is a tough day. But like we said, Surrey is stacked. It's basically a test match, so it's not too bad. At least you got a wicket.
True, yeah. Yeah, I wonder who it was. We can't have to check that out. Kane, good debut episode. Well, not really a debut episode, was it? I mean, you're back.
Well, it feels like it's been so long that I'm almost a new version of myself, so it does feel like a debut. I'm a different Kane as I said, to the one who was saying stupid things back in 2018.
This has been the Unplayable Podcast. You can catch the show on YouTube or on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Before we go, though, I do have one thing for you. It's a segment I want to introduce called Hey Richo. Fans can send in their messages and questions to you about anything in relation to the world. And given that it's the first episode of this new format, I had to ask my girlfriend to send in a question. So she's done that.
Okay.
And fans can send in their questions to podcasts@cricket.com.au. That's a very simple email. But let's get your thoughts on this one, the first of hopefully many Hey Richos.
The name needs some work. We'll get there.
Listeners, you can also
have some input.
Yeah, have some input on that.
Hey Richo, Bella here, big fan of the show. My question to you would be, what is your alcoholic choice of drink?
So there you go. That's a good non-cricket related question.
Yeah, so it's anything.
Oh, well, let's let the listeners...
Broaden our horizons.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
There's a big world out there outside of cricket, as I'm finding at the moment.
Do you drink? Well, maybe that should have been the question.
Well, I do. I'm definitely not a big drinker. Enjoy a hard-earned drink when the kids go to bed not every night, when it feels like I deserve one.
When you're celebrating with Alan Carey as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was, again, different days to now. I would say right now my choice of drink, and this is at home. I'm not in a pub or a nightclub.
Okay,
I'm just at home. Yep. Would just be a nice bottle of Pinot Noir.
Oh, okay.
Well, not a bottle, a glass. I won't be having the bottle, but yeah, a nice glass of white.
Yep.
Indoors. Keep it in the fridge, keep it chilled. We live in the tropics, so it's nice to have a nice cold wine.
Have you tried the sparkling Shiraz? That's a nice one to have.
Not a bubbly guy.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy to try it. But to answer the question, choice. If I'm going to the store and I'm choosing, it's a nice Pinot Noir.
Get in your questions for Kane Richardson and your maybe segment title suggestions as well to podcasts@cricket.com.au on email. Richo, thanks for joining us for this episode. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. See you next week.